Hello everyone, this is Mohit Patel, creative director of my little game design group Cyberverse Studios. This video is part of a series of videos showcasing various projects that either I or my team members and I have worked on. So enjoy and feel free to leave comments below. The next game that I will be covering will be my second personally developed game called Lockdown. Now, I originally intended for this game to be a lot more than it ended up being. And that's because I was younger. This was also back in 2011 and early 2012, and I didn't actually fully realize how far my dream was and how little I actually knew at the time about game design. I learned a lot through this project, but it wasn't enough to develop what I dreamt of developing, especially not using GameMaker 8 engine, which you are looking at the moment. Overall, I think I did a pretty good job with this game. We had a variety of weapons and attacks. What you're looking at now is the 2D version of the zombies map in our game. It looks a little weird right now because we have the sprites on here of the first-person aspects of things. Overall, I originally wanted this game to be a lot more story-based. I expected a lot more to be in here. It didn't quite end up the way I wanted it, but it still ended up being a pretty fun, fun experience to develop. Maybe not so much fun to play. It is available for download for those of you who would like to try one of my first projects when I first got into the game design business. But what I really like about Game Makers, I learned a lot of the fundamentals about game design. So everything you're seeing on screen, I understand all of this now. It took me a while to fully make this game. It took almost 5 months, I think. But overall, it was a fun process. It's something that I very much enjoyed. I reused a lot of sprites from Doom, etc. But I think the best way to show you guys what I've been working on is through the actual game itself. So here I've started Lockdown. It's loading up. I paused it there because I need to stop the sound for a moment because the audio in this game is really loud. So you'll notice the audio is very low compared to my voice. What you're seeing is the old logo for my team. You'll see a couple of the team-based games that we developed later. So this was my first attempt, again, at a story-based game. I won't be showing any of the story because that part failed miserably. I also tried to create a interactive menu. This is as far as I got. I didn't really end up putting much work into that because I started focusing on the actual game itself, so the menu didn't really have that much development time, and I didn't really care to put more work into that. So that, in evidence, takes you to the 2D menu, which is what you're seeing. You'll notice that, yeah, those are the missions. You'll notice that it says multiplayer as one of the options. Multiplayer, I actually never did figure out how to create online multiplayer using GameMaker, at least. It just didn't work out that well. So it's something that I pretty much just put a message there telling the player that there was multiplayer when there actually wasn't. So if you do decide to download it and try it, or if you have downloaded it and try it, and notice that there was no multiplayer, even if you had great internet connection, it was because there actually was no multiplayer in the game itself. What you're seeing now is the only mode which I put a lot of effort into this game. This took about 3 months of dev time, only because I made sure to get it as perfect as I could. This was the Zombies mode, inspired obviously by the World at War map, Notched or Untoten. I don't know if I said that right, so don't quote me for being wrong. You'll notice that I added the ability to use various weapons in this game. Figured out how to use ranges when it comes to striking enemies. You'll also notice the teleportation system, which takes you to a different part of the map. Occasionally, it will glitch out and take you out of the map, which may be a bonus to some people who like glitching games out. There's barrels that give you health. There's just all sorts of things I figured out with this game. You'll notice the jumping feature, the exosuit jumping, which is not reminiscent of the new Advanced Warfare. It's something that I thought of before that game even came out. This was back in 2011. You'll also notice the mouse movement. I finally figured out how to move the camera using the mouse. how to use various weapons and pick up various weapons, as well as score-based systems. I learned how to use compass features, and right there you just saw a small glitch of where you can use all the weapons at once, which I did not plan for. It was something that at the time I could not fix. If I went back, and I could probably locate the source of the solution now, but back then I wasn't too in depth with the code that I wrote. I more so just wrote code, and if something went wrong, I didn't necessarily fix it. So now we're heading back to the menu to view some of the environments that I created, actually to view all 5 of the environments that I created for this game. This was a town. You'll notice that a lot these houses are 3D models. Again, you see the exosuit jumping there. Using houses, this was originally supposed to be a small town of Texas. You'll notice that there's like burnt out trees and stuff. There was a story behind this. I didn't tell the story that well in this game, however. But it did help me get into the world of 3D modeling. And with those guns you saw earlier, not the one sprites on screen, but those, like right there. Those are weapons that I developed using this program called Model Creator, which actually went perfectly with Game Maker. This was way before I was introduced to programs like 3ds Max, etc. Making the sprites, however, it was interesting because I was able to find most of them on Google. I'm pretty sure a lot of these are from older games. But yeah, overall, this project was great because I created like a various amount of maps. It was just to test various features. Obviously, they aren't as detailed as they could be, and that's because I was still very new to this. This was right after I made the first-person shooter test. And again, there's story behind all these maps. You can play through the story. It might be a little hard to follow, especially the cutscenes, considering I used Microsoft PowerPoint to create the cutscenes and then hypercams to actually record them. So it was not of the best quality as I probably would have in a newer title that I were to develop. Trying to think of if there's anything else in this game that I really thought of. Sound effects, I learned how to use sound effects well. The only thing I couldn't really grasp, however, is... Oh, just glitched out of the map right there. The only thing I couldn't grasp, however, is the ability to control footstep sounds while you're moving. You'll notice that if you listen to the background noise in this game, there's a constant, like, screeching sound. That's actually your footsteps. I never figured out how to stop the loop. But yeah, I mean, I showed you most of the new things that I created for Lockdown. It was a 5-month project, and I'm very glad to have worked on it, and I'm very glad to have made this developer diary to comment and talk about my work. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next developer diary.